So please welcome a woman that I have waited for quite a while to see. I've seen her twice in Brooklyn in the Lafayette Presbyterian Church, who hosted her when she was going across the country last time in 2006. And then I saw her in Denver with the appearing with Cynthia McKinney and speaking to that group. And I'm sure she will get Cynthia to come and speak to you as well. This is a wonderful crowd and a peace-minded crowd. This would be wonderful. So I'd like to introduce you now to a woman who I hold in the highest respect, and all of you do too, or you wouldn't be here. Please welcome Cindy Sheehan.
Thank you, everybody. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, it's so nice to have such a great crowd here on a Thursday afternoon. Wow, are the bars closed? Just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I know. I can't drink anymore either. But I just want to have a commercial for something. I've been a vegan for a long, long time. And so it's just, to me, a better, more peaceful, more compatible lifestyle with being a peace activist, right? And then it's healthier for you too, definitely. But what's today, the 25th? 3 weeks ago I went gluten-free. And I just want to say that I haven't felt this good since I felt good. So I'm in a good mood and I have no reason to be. You know, my problems still persist. I still have to clean up that campaign. I ran for Congress against Nancy Pelosi. So I still have to clean up the campaign. I get warnings from the FEC, the Federal Election Commission, all the time, and I get fines, and I can't ask people to contribute to my campaign anymore. It's been over for 7 or 8 months now. So, and then of course, the policies, even though George Bush is gone, many of his policies persist. And it's harder and harder to do what we do because many people, after the elections, just kind of said, well, we have a new president, so we can go back to sleep. And that's dangerous, and I think that's one of the most dangerous things about an Obama presidency, is that many people think they misplace their hope. And am I far enough away from this? Is it perfect? Okay. What I'm trying to do, going around the country, I think something that we awakened to in 2005 was that we are the ones that have the power. So many of us who had become discouraged in the peace movement after Crawford, Texas, when 15,000 of us camped out in front of, I just want to tell you, when I'm talking about the dad, George Bush, we call him Bush the devil. And when we're talking about the son, we call him Bush the idiot. And that was from an Iraqi man in Nashville, Tennessee. So I have to defer to the Iraqi man in this. So anyway, when we were camping in front of Bush the idiot's house in Crawford, Texas, a lot of people were either awakened or re-energized. We were taken to the streets. We were doing civil disobedience. We were really just energized for change. And what we saw was a lot of change, but it hasn't helped us. I know a lot of people, a lot of organizations used that energy of our movement to elect Democrats. And that happened in 2006, and it happened in 2008. And we see nothing has changed. If electing Democrats really, how come this mic keeps going in and out? If electing Democrats, it was super annoying. I'm very distractible. especially, in this heightened state of good moodiness I have today. I don't even have a boyfriend. I don't know why I'm in such a good mood. I just am. It's weird. It's a weird feeling. I haven't felt this for so long. Oh, it's New York. I have my I Love New York shirt on. It's not just a slogan to me. I really, really do. And somebody nice gave it to me, so I thought I'd be cheesy and wear it. I didn't think you guys would mind, though. So anyway, yeah, if electing Democrats really caused change, that's where I would put all my energy. If electing Democrats brought peace, that's where all my energy would go. But I knew that wasn't true. That's why I ran against a Democrat. Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi, the queen of the system. The queen of protection of the robber class. And let me tell you about the robber class and the robbed class. I'm here, and it's just really great to be here. And I want to thank Sally, because Sally really worked hard on this. And I'd like to thank All Souls for allowing, us to use it. Looks like they have some kind of vacation Bible school going on or something. A lot of little ones running around, very cute. But the reason we're here is because I wrote a book. And it's called Myth America. Myth America. I don't have a list, but it's MYTH America. 10 Greatest Myths of the Robber Class and the Case for Revolution. And I wrote it. Wow, it's an early crowd, but it's an energetic crowd. Yay. I wrote it after my campaign because I was in a funk. First of all, I lost, and I should have won. If things were equal, I would have won. If the robber class didn't own the elections, if the robber class didn't own the system, then I would have beaten Nancy Pelosi. But I have a radio show called Cindy Sheehan Soapbox now, and it's on the internet at cindysheehansoapbox.com, but it also plays in one terrestrial market, and that's Dallas, Texas. And that's where George Bush lives, so I hope he tunes in every Sunday at 3 to listen to my show. Rational Radio, 1360 AM. So anyway, they're having a forum in September that they're inviting me to, their Rational Radio Forum, and Tom Hartman's going to be there. Now, I like Tom Hartman. I think Tom Hartman's a good guy, but he didn't support my candidacy. And you know why he didn't support it? Because I didn't have a chance. And I was like, that's one of the robber class myths. What was the theme of the last 2008 elections? Was the politics of the possible, but only possible if you're a robber class politician. Impossible for the grassroots. If progressive people like Tom Hartman and others had gotten on my bandwagon and supported me and said it's not only possible to have an African American president, but it's possible to have somebody like Cindy Sheehan in Congress. And so it was possible for me to win. It was very possible for me to win. So after I didn't, and after Obama did, everybody went back to sleep. Not everybody, but many of the organizations that we counted on for leadership in the peace movement thought that they had achieved their goal. That we have a Democratic president now, so we don't have to work anymore. Organizations we've counted on, like Move On, like United for Peace and Justice. They just all of a sudden say, well, we have a Democrat, so we don't have to. We can work on like the issues of health care, which is important. But we're not going to reform the health care system when the health care system gives money to the politicians. And the true reform is going to come from single payer, not keeping the health care and big pharma in the system. So anyway, I was just really in a funk. I was like kind of just floating around, not knowing what to do. How do you find relevancy? How do you find relevancy? How do we find relevancy in a post-Bush, current Obama paradigm in this country, where, you know, people are misplacing their hope, where the hope has always been here. It's always been within us. It's like Dorothy and clicking her heels. She always had the power. And we've always had the power too, but the system wants to tell us we're powerless. And that's why that's what keeps us chained to the system. It's thinking that the system is somehow going to help us because we're just us. You know, we can't do anything good because we're not robber class politicians. You know, we're not in the system, so we're not the change agents. And when you're saying, I'm going to misplace or place all my hope in one person, then that's saying that you don't have any agency, that you don't have any power. And that's one of the biggest robber class myths, that one person can't make a difference. And I'm just a regular person. You know, I spent a good 20 years of my life in my van. You know, for driving my kids back and forth to school, driving my kids to baseball, softball, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, band, whatever. You know, I didn't know much about politics, but I knew every word to every Disney song, you know? And then you think, when you do start thinking about the problems, you just think, oh God, they're so big. They're so big, what can one person do? And that's what they want us to think, that we don't have power. But I think I've proven that one person does have power. One truly ordinary person can make a difference. And they want us to sit around and between apathy and despair thinking we can't make a difference. And so that limits our power. And then we trust other people to do something for us, and they're not going to do anything for us. So I was struggling with all of these questions in my sleep, not in my sleep, trying to sleep. And I came up with, I write a lot. You know, I write a lot of articles. I write, I think that's how I work through I've worked through a lot of my pain, a lot of my conflicts, a lot of my questions is by writing. Frustrations for sure, anger for sure. And so I thought of a title for an article, Myth America, because I thought myths are what bind us to the system. If we don't believe in the myths, then we can't be bound to a system that is cancerous and not for us. So I got up and I thought I was going to write an article, but you know, after a couple hours, I realized that nobody would write an article that was 30 pages long. Nobody would read one. So I thought this is going to have to be a book. And so I narrowed it down to 10 myths. And after I wrote my book, it's an internet booklet, so you have to get the PDF. And people send me donations through my website, Cindy Sheehan Soapbox, or on my book tour. They've been ordering the book, and I go home and I email it to them, or not home, wherever I'm staying, and I email the book to them. And we do have, if you want to order the book today, this is just a short commercial, we do have the front page here that I'll sign for you. So if you order the book, I'll sign the front page, because it's kind of hard when it's PDF to get a personalized autograph. But anyway, after I wrote the book and I said it's ready, you can order it now. I got a lot of orders. And then people started to say, you want to come here and do a book tour? You want to talk about your book? And it went from, you know, me writing this book to now I'm probably in 50 cities. I just booked the entire month of September today. So people are really, really interested in it. I think many of us never supported the policies of George Bush. We don't support the same policies under Obama, whether we support Obama or not. But many people are starting to wake up. I gave it a year. I thought after a year people would wake up, but it's much faster than a year. I've had something happen to me that never happened to me when I was just going against George Bush in Iraq. I've had people stand up and walk out on me because they were so upset. They thought I was being mean to Obama when I was just telling the truth. So, but I'm seeing a lot more energy, and a lot more people are deeply disappointed. Deeply, deeply disappointed. And when I get interviewed, people ask me, "Oh, so are you disappointed that Obama's continuing the war?" I said, "Yeah, I'm disappointed. I was disappointed when Bush was continuing it. I was disappointed when Bush started it, but I'm not surprised. Because you know what? I actually listened to what Obama said during the campaign. And he never said a complete withdrawal from Iraq. And he always said he was going to send more troops to Afghanistan. But a lot of people just looked at how he was saying things. And he says things way more prettier than Bush ever said things. So he talks pretty and acts the same. And I think we're starting to get that in America. And maybe that's why I'm in such a good mood. Maybe it's not just going gluten-free, but maybe it's seeing that I think 3/4 of this country at least woke up during the Bush regime. And then it was so sad to see Obama put half of those people to sleep again. But I see. Every day I see people with their eyes wide open and just telling me, "Cindy, people emailed me after my election and after the election just saying, you got to give him a chance. You got to be nicer to him." And I would just say, well, if you didn't focus on him but focused on the policies like I'm doing, then you would see what I'm doing. I have nothing personally against Obama. I've met him several times, as I've met George Bush. And they are two different people for sure. But it's the policies. And until we realize it's a system and that the problems are systemic, we're never going to have true change. I think really Obama was saying chains and not change. And he'd go off stage and go, "They think I'm saying change." So anyway, this is a full program and it's great. And I don't know what the plans are, but I want to stick around and I want to take book orders and take your emails and take your money. Got to be real here. Peace moms have to eat too. And sign autographs and stuff like that, but it is a full program. So I just want to read you the myths that I thought were the most important ones. And when I get off, I'm going to have like August off, I think, except for maybe like a week in Montana. But when I get off book tour in August, before I go back on it, I'm going to expand this book. It's only 100 pages, but what I've learned on my tour from you and from other people and from people who've read the book, what's working of the suggestions, what more we can do. So I've learned so much, and I can double the myths. Instead of 10 myths, it can be the 20 myths, or the 25 myths of the robber class, or the 1,000 myths of the robber class. And it can be volumes. But so it is going to be expanded into real book form, I think, when I get back home. But these are the myths that were central to my life at the end of January of this year. The first robber class myth, and this is our foundational myth. This is the myth of how we were founded. America is the greatest nation in the universe. Okay, not on this planet, not in history, but if there's another nation on another planet in another galaxy, we don't need to know anything about its culture. We don't need to know anything about its history. We don't need to know anything about its current events or its political structure or social structure. We already know we're better than it. And that's the way it is with just countries on our borders. We don't need to know anything about the culture of Mexico or Canada, which I call America Junior. We just need to know that we're better than those places and people, always. What allows us to exterminate an entire indigenous population to almost extinction? What allowed us to have black slavery and not count women until the second decade of the 19th century? You know, and another dangerous thing about Barack Obama talking about voting rights is they're saying that we can get rid of the Voting Rights Act because we have an African American president. Have elections, have I not been paying attention and elections have become egalitarian? You know, that the problems with our system have been fixed? I don't think so. And then America being the greatest nation in the universe, if America kills somebody, they must be people that needed to be killed. That they must not be innocent people. That Osama bin Laden, if you believe that myth, you know, killed 3,000 people. And, you know, I know you especially, we mourn those deaths. And we call it terrorism. But Bush and our country can kill over 1 million people in Iraq? And that's justified? I don't think so. You know, I was on Anderson Cooper one time. He's like, is it true you called George Bush the biggest terrorist in the world? I went, yeah. And I said, what's the difference between flying airplanes into buildings and dropping bombs onto buildings from airplanes? What makes our innocent life more precious than their innocent life? So Anderson Cooper didn't know how to answer that. If there's some water around, if I could have elections actually changed anything, they'd make them illegal. And thanks, Elaine. Oh yeah, I want to thank Elaine for housing me and schlepping me around. Elaine, military families, speak out. Military families speak out and world can't wait. Elaine. The third Robert Class myth is there's a significant difference between Democrats and Republicans in the Robert Class. That we actually have a two-party system. People always tell me, Cindy, are you for a third party? I said, yeah, but only after we have a second party. You know? A second party would be fabulous. The fourth one is also born out of my tragic experience. It's noble to die in Robert Class wars. The fifth Robert Class myth is the Federal Reserve System cares about you. The sixth Robert Class myth, it's a privilege to pay taxes to the Robert Class. The seventh Robert Class myth is healthcare, quality education, housing, and healthy food are also privileges. But they're only privileges to us, right? Right? If we don't have those things, we're told in this country, if you can't afford a good education, if you can't afford health care, if you can't afford a nice, warm, dry house, you know, if you can't afford healthy food and clean water, then there's something wrong with you. There's not anything wrong with the system. There's something wrong with you. I don't have health care. I think I'm a very smart, hardworking person. You know, so it's not because we're not smart and hardworking. It's because the system is systemic. 27,000 people a year die because they don't have health insurance. Well, they're sick, but they don't have health insurance, so they die. How can that happen in a country like, well, I know how it can happen in a country like America, but how can it happen in the mythic America, where we're the best country in the world? How can 1 million children go to bed hungry just in this country? Thousands, millions of people without shelter. You know there's more empty housing units than there are homeless people? And I just want to, if you're a libertarian, I want to disagree with you on one thing, that human rights are more important than property rights. I get really worked up on that one. I can't stand to see so many people have so much and, millions of people have hardly anything. And one of the Robert class myths is that we live in an egalitarian society. That's been bullshit for centuries, and it still is. The 8th Robert class myth is America has a free press. That's also born out of experience. The 9th Robert class myth is the environment who needs it. I don't know how they're comfortable with destroying our environment for profit, for immediate profit. They don't care about future sustainability. They don't care about their children or grandchildren. What they care about is immediate profit. And the 10th Robert class myth is 19 Muslims with box cutters caused 9/11. And no matter what we believe about 9/11, whether you believe that Dick Cheney was in the basement in his bunker writing the plan between heart attacks, or we call them knee heart attacks because he always has those heart attacks in the knee, or whether you believe the official story, or anywhere in between. I'm somewhere in between there. Farther away from the official story for sure. But I don't believe that Dick Cheney was there in his bunker planning it. But whatever we believe, that's the foundational myth of today. Because of the exploitation of 9/11, even if it was Osama bin Laden and 19 Muslims with box cutters. I've seen women go onto airplanes with knitting needles. I'm like, you won't let me bring my clippers, but you let her bring her knitting needles? I think you could do some damage with those suckers. But even if we believe the official story, why did we invade Iraq and Afghanistan? If we believe the official story, 16 of the hijackers were Saudi Arabian. Why aren't we in Saudi Arabia if we believe the official story? So 9/11 happened. We know it happened. That's not in dispute. We know 9/11 happened. But since 9/11, we've had our own freedoms here in America taken away. It really, really burns me up to see the protests in Iran, which I can't tell really what is happening there. If they're legitimate protests, then, we support people's protests. They might be legitimate and they might be fomented by the CIA. So whatever's happening in Iran, the newscasters are calling those protesters brave and courageous, and they're standing up for their rights. And when we do that in America, they call us kooks. They never even showed the protests in the RNC when those robo-cops were tear gassing the protesters, running them over with their horses, brutalizing them. When I'm arrested standing up for our rights, and I just want to say, to the people in the media who call us kooks and extremists and radicals, when I'm getting arrested for my rights, I'm also getting arrested for your rights. So whatever happened, we know what happened on 9/11, but what it was ever behind it, they misused it. We had and I don't have to tell you guys, but we had the will of the world on our side. Most of the world was on our side. And instead of stepping back and saying, why did that happen to us? Maybe we could change our lifestyle. Instead of being, they don't call us citizens anymore, they call us consumers. Instead of telling us to rush out and buy, spend, how about figuring out how we can be responsible citizens of the world? And that might have cured the problem. Instead of invading two countries that had nothing to do with 9/11, now we have torture, and we have Abu Ghraib, and we have Guantanamo. We have the USA Patriot Act. We have Military Commissions Act, the FISA Modernization Act. We have a theory called, I always get the order wrong, but I think it's called preventive indefinite detention, where you don't even have to commit a crime. They just think they have their thought police, I guess, and can figure out that you're going to commit a crime, and you can be preventively detained for that. The Extreme Radicalization Act. So there's so many ways. Oh, and about those protests in Iran too. Stolen elections. Whenever the robber class doesn't want to win in another country, it's a stolen election. I wish the media would have paid attention to our stolen elections. The robber class corporate media wants to throw stones at other countries without looking at what's happening in our own country. So anyway, those are the myths that I think we have to expose them and dispel them before any true systemic change is going to happen. And what am I proposing for my revolution? Do you think that and if you guys know me, do you think I am proposing that we all pull our Abrams tanks out of the garages and, shine up our Apache helicopters, or go down to the park and appropriate a Civil War cannon or something? No, that's not what I'm proposing. I think like our media is saying now, about Iran, that we do need regime change. I do think we need to change the system. And I do think we need to be brave. And I think we need to stand up to the system. But the robber class, since the beginning of this country's existence, has been stealing our wealth. And we're in the robbed class, by the way. I don't think I explained that. Has been stealing our wealth, our labor, our children to kill in the robber class wars, our property. And you know why? Because we let them. You know what? They know that they need us more than we need them. And we are codependent with them. They have a lifestyle that they're accustomed to. And we're accustomed to supporting their lifestyle. That's what we're doing. We're supporting the robber class in the style they've been accustomed to. And the only time I've seen swift justice in a robber is recently as Bernie Madoff. And you know why? Because he took money from his own class. And if he had stolen money from us, like AIG and Citigroup and those people, they would be bailing him out instead of putting him in prison. They would be erecting a statue to him on Wall Street. He could be right next to the bull, But no, God forbid he stole money from his own class. That's a robber class no-no. So my revolution is to realize all these things. Realize the myths that we're born with, we're taught in school, it's perpetuated by the media, by the government, by even in Martin Luther King Jr. Day parades where they become militaristic. You know, these myths are hard to break free from. And it's hard to know that, it's hard to realize, and I came to this late, I thought I made it up, but I didn't, that America, the true divide is a class divide. Not a political divide, not a gender divide, you know, not a race divide, but a class divide. You know? The robber class exists of Democrat, Republican, black, white, brown, you know, Jew, Christian, Muslim, whatever, gay, straight. If they're gay, sometimes they don't, you know, they keep it in the closet. And so does the robbed class. We consist of all those things too, but the thing is we're bickering amongst each other. You know, we have these artificial divisions imposed on us by the robber class, and they know about the age-old thing of divide and conquer. So we're bickering among ourselves, thinking, oh, if we work hard and we step on our neighbors, we can use our neighbors' backs to make it up to the robber class. And then everything's going to be hunky-dory once we get into the robber class. You know, that's another myth, that robber class status is achievable. You know, so what we have to realize is we need to work together to create our own systems. And what's the robber class to me? The robber class is most of the people in the government, Wall Street, Madison Avenue, the military-industrial complex, the bankers, the media-industrial complex. You know, those are all members of the robber class. And they know, you know, they don't fight amongst each other. They just have pretend fights. You know, I had Jesse Ventura on my radio show last week. And the government reminds me of the old WWF where one day, Bret the Hitman Hart would be a good guy, and then I'd watch it again and he'd be a bad guy. And I talked to my son Casey because he loved WWF. And I'd say, what happened? I thought Bret was a good guy. And no, he was a bad guy now. And I think that's the way our government is. You know, it's just a show. It's just a game. Then they had to change WWF to WWE because it was just entertainment. Casey was really smart. But he loved wrestling. And I would just check in with him every once in a while. I'd say, honey, you realize this isn't real, right? And he'd go, yes, Mom. You know, it's just a soap opera. I just like what I like. Phew. You know, as long as you realize it, you know, then that's cool. So, yeah, my theory is that we've tried to do everything to change the system. And if systems ever are changed, it's after generations of struggle and sacrifice, right? And I don't think we have generations. I think these problems are very urgent. And why do we waste our time, our energy? We all have very limited time. We all have very limited energy. We all have very limited resources, especially now. Why do we waste those on full frontal attacks against the robber class? You know, the robber class knows how to parry those attacks. So we need to create healthy systems that sustain ourselves, that support ourselves, that as much as we can remove ourselves from the robber class systems. And then if we have a healthy safety net here, if we build communities and create communities that support each other, it doesn't matter who's in Washington. We don't have to play that game anymore. We don't have to play the good guy, bad guy, good cop, bad cop, DC politics anymore. I think our politics should be local. I think that's where we should put our energy, because that's where we have effect. We don't have any effect in Washington, D.C. So if you want to work in politics, put your energy into school boards, local elections, and then create, I forget what I was saying. Anyway, I just think that we've all worked very hard, and we haven't gotten very far. And, are we going to have total economic collapse? I just know things are going to get a lot worse before they get better. And the robber class isn't going to help us. What did Senator Carl Levin say after they passed another bailout and they didn't pass the mortgage relief assistance? He said the bankers still own Congress. So we're not going to get any help. We're not going to get any help from Washington, D.C. So we have to work together to help each other. And whether that's in your family or your community or your peace community, to have an umbrella over us when the empire crumbles. Because the empire is going to crumble. Thank God. Thank God the U.S. empire is going to crumble. But is it going to crumble on us and crush us? Or are we going to be able to survive through what's coming up? We won't be able to unless we create the communities that we need. There's another robber class myth, and that's that Americans are rugged individualists. If you need another person, or if you need to be needed by another person, then you're weak. Oh, you weakling, why can't you just be like John Wayne and get on your horse and ride into the sunset? And just leave other people out of it. Leave other people alone. That's not the way human beings are. Human beings are tribal in nature. And why did we gather in tribes? For protection and for support. So that's the greatest myth that we have to dispel, that we don't need each other. Because I'll stand up here and say I need other human beings. Then that doesn't make me weak. That just makes me a human being. And I'm proud to be a human being. So I'll be here to sign, take orders for my book, and sign. Yes? Oh, I guess we can take a few questions. Yes? Oh, yes.
I wonder if you would share whether good or bad experiences and whether you expect to run again.
Okay, she heard that Did everybody hear the question? She heard that I got 6% of the vote against Pelosi, and would I like to talk about my good and bad experiences, and will I run again? Well, I'm happy to say I got almost triple 6%. So I got almost 17%. Yeah, it's very significant. I got about 50,000 votes, and I came in second. In a field of 7. So I beat the Republican. And this is significant because one of my bad experiences was a media that literally followed me to the outhouse in Crawford, Texas. How is that a story? Let's follow the peace mom down to take a pee. How's that a story? They followed me down to the outhouse. It's the same old, we have to be very concerned about whether John's divorcing Kate or Kate's divorcing John, and John had an affair or Kate had an affair. That's not important. It's important to their family, but it's not important to us. And so the media that did that, where it was not an important story, that I had to go to the bathroom. What was a very important story, I thought, was that I was running against the Speaker of the House. And she's supposed to be from a liberal town, a liberal district, and somebody more liberal or progressive than her was running against her. And even though, we might be on the same side of the center divide, she's really close to it, or maybe gone on the other side. And I'm almost far left. I've come full circle to be on the right again. So anyway, we couldn't get covered for anything. You know, you guys probably didn't hear anything about my campaign. There was no national coverage at all, and local coverage was minimum. They only covered me when they had to. I did get some significant endorsements, one from the Bay Guardian paper, but even with the significant endorsement, they said she has no chance. You know, why didn't they just say, this is our candidate, and we encourage you to vote for her? And, you know, that's what I was talking about. The politics of the possible are only in the robber class. You know, and I got fully endorsed by the Bayview. That's our last African American paper. But CNN, after the election, CNN has their Election Central online. They reported Nancy Pelosi's results, and they reported the Republicans' results. And they didn't even report my results, and I got double the votes of the Republican. You know, and another thing is, Nancy Pelosi has been a 10-term congressperson. She had a tough primary in her first run, but since then she hasn't gotten anything less than 83% of the vote. And she usually has been getting like 86 or 87% of the vote. And this time she only got 71% of the vote, which seems like a lot. It is a lot, you know, in reality. But then again, I think I got more votes than they said I got, because we were doing exit polling and it wasn't scientific. We had three teams doing exit polling in each supervisorial district. We have 10 supervisorial districts. They were all reporting me getting between 35 and 60% of the vote. And I end up only getting 17% of the vote. So I think the robber class Democratic machine in San Francisco figured out there was a level that would look respectable, yet not harm Pelosi's standing or whatever. So, and we just know, I mean, in San Francisco, when Matt Gonzalez ran against Gavin Newsom, they found ballots floating in the Bay. And it just happened to be from precincts where Matt would do very strongly. So, you know, since the beginning of time, they've screwed with elections. It's so easy to do, especially now that they're all computerized. Stanley?
I understand you spoke at the Palestinian Al-Awda Convention. Could you explain something about the Palestine right to return, why you spoke there?
Okay, right on. I didn't answer. I'm sorry, I didn't answer one of your questions. No, I'm not going to run again. No, I think that, like Emma Goldman said, if elections really were going to change something, they make them illegal. And I'm really sorry. I mean, it's been hard. I'm glad I had my experience running for election because I learned so much. But I also learned that my participation in a federal election legitimized for some people a system that's illegitimate. And that I was able to raise $650,000, which I thought that was really good. But then I thought, instead of having to buy ads in media that wouldn't cover me for free, we spent tens of thousands of dollars doing that. You know, we could have housed the people that sleep next to my campaign office. And so I just, you know, I thought that it was just a waste of everybody's time and resources. And because they're so few. I have to answer your question. Yes, I spoke at the Al-Awda Convention in Anaheim, and it is a Palestinian rights convention, the right of return. And you know, I support that. I support that cause. You know, this is another thing. You know, Barack Obama went to Egypt and he gave a pretty speech. And he said, the only thing he said about the Israel-Palestinian thing was that Israel shouldn't expand into the West Bank. And I've just found out today that they are expanding into the West Bank. And they have been. But he doesn't say anything about the walls in the West Bank that keep people from their jobs and from their lands and from hospitals and medical attention. And he didn't go to Gaza. You know, he went to I think it was Buchenwald, and talked about the horrible prison, Bergen-Belsen. I said that the other day, and someone said, no, it was Buchenwald. So he went to Bergen-Belsen, and he was talking about horrible concentration camps, but he didn't go to Gaza and talk about that horrible concentration camp. So I don't think that... Oh, I'm too close, sorry. I didn't understand what that meant. I thought you were giving me some concentration camp signs or something. So, and I think any solution, if there is a solution, if people even want a solution, I know we do, I'm not so sure the robber class wants a solution, that it has to include the right of return. It has to include the right of return. Yes.
Two questions. Are you from California or from Texas? I wasn't clear on that.
He asked me if I'm from California or Texas. I'm from California. Texas was just an aberration in my life. And I was only there because that's where George Bush was.
Okay. And I wonder if you have any media appearances coming up that you can tell us about?
Do I have any media appearances coming up? No, I know the media. For some reason doesn't want to cover me. I mean, Sally tried to get me on The View. She tried to get me on Phil Donahue, who's a friend of mine, Air America.
Well, Phil Donahue didn't fail you. I just asked him if he'd come today. I never got to follow up.
Oh, okay.
WBAI is here right now, Mitchell calling me.
And I hope they meant corporate media, not media like WBAI, and independent and liberal media. And it's really sad, too, that Pacifica, a lot of Pacificas are in a lot of trouble now between been taken over by corporate stuff. And that's why I failed on my Green 960 station, because it's a commercial station, and nobody wants to advertise on my show. The corporations, I'm anti-corporate anyway, you know, and so there are some good corporations that do good things, but in general, you know, I think corporations, especially when they were granted personhood, you know, and they have the same rights as people here in America. I mean, who are the, I got it. Who are the, I feel like I'm on the Tonight Show. Can you go? Corporations is who our government represents. They don't represent us. They represent the lobby money. They represent the big money. That's who they're buying for now. So that's a long way of saying no, I don't have any media appearance. I do a lot of local progressive shows, and I have my own show, which is wonderful. Go to cindysheehansoapbox.com. Get on my list, and you can know where I'm going to be. You know, my physical appearances, who's going to be on my shows. I send out my articles that I write and stuff like that. So that's what we have to do. I think we have to be our own media. And we have a very good chance of doing that now with the way we're connected. Yes, ma'am.
There's a theme of populism. It came up last night in a meeting, a 9/11 kind of focused meeting by people that are terribly interested in getting this initiative not only on the ballot, which we likely will, but getting voted for. There's a populism issue, and the fact that the blackout of what they destroyed, how they destroyed you, the media destroyed you. I think it's important that someone like you to pick up the cudgel as well as all the people here. And everyone you talk to,
You guys can, back there, NYC cans back there. Yeah, I support you 100%. And I really think that if anything is going to get done in this country, it has to be a grassroots movement that has, shall I say, roots, that has a foundation. What happened at Camp Casey in Crawford, Texas that summer was something that was so spontaneous and so huge that many people, I think good people for good reasons, what they thought were good reasons, knew that they could come and co-opt it and use it for their own purposes. And their purposes were to elect Democrats. And once that happened, the movement collapsed. Because it was so big and it happened so fast, it was spontaneous, it didn't have the roots or the foundations it needed to last. And I just want to close really quick. It's like we're running out of time. If you want to ask me a question, you didn't get a chance to, Cindy at cindysheehansoapbox.com. But my daughter was speaking in a school a couple weeks ago in California, high school. She did counter recruitment. She was there from 7 to 4. And if you don't know my daughter, 7 o'clock is like midnight to her. So she was there at 7. She stayed till 4. She talked to students. And 2 came up to her. I don't know how many people she changed, but 2 came up to her and said, "Carly, thank you for being here. I was going to join the military, and since you spoke, I'm not going to join." And so Carly may not have been able to reach out to 300 million Americans, but to change the minds of at least 2 people. And if all of us would do that and realize that it's the small actions added together that's going to make a difference, not one big action, but all this, and we can all do that. We can all reach out, instead of 300 million people, 3 people. And, that would create the revolution that we need. And it's all about revolution. Viva la revolution. Okay, viva!
Local station board, and for the time being, at any rate. And please support the new management at VAI, which we've voted into place, who are making these what we think are really dramatic improvements in the quality of the programs and what's